Welcome to the Wissahickon Environmental Center. My name is Christina Marisi and I am the Environmental Education Planner. Today I wanted to share with you a little discovery that Trish, our Environmental Education Specialist, and I made as we were hiking through Andorra Meadow on a winter afternoon. As we were hiking through the meadow, we came across these bones. So at first, these were the only two that we saw, so we weren't quite sure as to what animal they could be. But as we looked further, we kind of gathered some information. So what we did know was that it's a bone, it's an animal bone. It's about the same size as my foot, which is a size 9. And it was found in the meadow in the Wissahickon. So when I say meadow, that is tall grasses, flowers when it is spring and summertime, and pretty much open, very few trees. And as we looked around, we found the first bones that we saw, which again are about the same size as a size 9 woman's foot. And we kept looking and we found more. So we found what looked to be part of maybe a pelvic bone, a bone that was hidden and it was actually much longer than the first bone that we found. So we began thinking about animals that are larger that have this type of bone structure. And as we did a little research, we noticed this chart here. So these are all the bones that we did find that we thought belonged in these places. So the humerus bone, the pelvic bone, I believe we definitely found. And it all looked like it was parts to legs, which as we walked further, we found a leg. So these are the bones that we originally found, but together in their original structure. Near the legs, we also found the jawbone. So the jawbone, looking at the jawbone, we see the teeth structure, which are flat, which means that this is an herbivore. It eats plants. We also found the hoof. So this will probably give you more of a definitive idea as to what animal this could be, but we wanted to explore a little further. And so noticing that the hoof was pointed and that the jawbone had the flattened teeth, we were getting closer to the animal that we thought it was. And as you can see, there's also fur around these bones. So there's the pile of fur. And with that, we found another bone. And I was able to move the fur, and you can see how it's decomposed underneath. So decompose is when fungus, bacteria, animals break it down and return it to soil. So using those discoveries, so the bones we already found, then we found the scapula, and we have the molars and the mandible, we were able to think a little further. Again, what do we know now? It's an animal that lives in the Wissahickon. It has bones. It has fur. It has flat teeth and pointed hooves. And we found it in the meadow. So based on this chart and all these things that we know, we're getting pretty close to what we thought was the definitive what animal this was. So as we walked further, we found the big discovery. Miss Trish was ahead and she called over to me to come see it. So you can see her size versus the size of the remaining of the skeleton that we found. You could see there's a vertebrae, so the backbone, the rib cage, still some fur around it. It's mostly broken down, so other animals have already eaten most of the flesh and the organs, and what's left is the fur and the bones. So there's the rib cage, the vertebrae, and the ribs. And as we're taking all of this into consideration, we are thinking pointed hubs, leg bones, found in the meadow, flat teeth, so it's an herbivore, has a backbone, so it's a vertebrate, and it has fur, so it's a mammal. So a larger mammal that eats plants, has a backbone, has pointed hooves. What could it possibly be? And thinking about what lives in the meadow and what lives in the Wissahickon that would be that big, we came to the conclusion that it was a deer. So you can see all of the parts that we did find, except the skull. We did not find the skull or antlers, so we cannot tell whether or not this was a male deer, a buck, or a female deer, a doe. But it is a white-tailed deer. And these deer are overabundant or overpopulated in the Wissahickon and throughout Philadelphia and a lot of PA forests. And we know that it's them. We call them white-tailed deer because when they run away from us, we see this flash of the white tail. This is a female, so the female does not have antlers, and the males do. But again, we did not find the skull, so we are unsure as to if this deer that we found was male or female. And we see them pretty regularly in the forest. They don't like a lot of noise, so when we do have the kids out, we see them running. And so in with a kind of skeleton like this, so this was their live version. When you see the skeleton, it's going back into the earth. So we're doing that whole circle of life thing. And there's a lot of animals that contributed to it being now in the bone form. So the skin, the organs, a lot of the flesh isn't there. Most likely the animals that came by to visit and snack on it, decompose it, would have been the raccoon. So not this particular raccoon. This is another old picture we have of a raccoon at the treehouse. This is also an old photo from a trail camera of a dead deer that we did have, and that is the fox. So the fox comes by and does eat off of the carcass. This is a trail camera photo of a coyote at the bird feeders, but coyote would be another animal that lives in the Wissahickon that would have fed off this deer. And this pair is our nature's cleanup crews, are often referred to. These are vultures, and vultures' niche in nature is essentially just to eat dead things. They break them down, they clean them up. And what's going to happen here, once all the flesh is gone, like the one that we saw, there'll be other animals that come and break it down. So there's already been the mammals that we mentioned. There's also going to be the bacteria, the fungus, and then insects, beetles, worms, and other animals like that. And then when we get to just the bones, that's when rodents will come and kind of chip away at eating the bones. So there will come a point where the whole thing will not be there anymore. And that's thanks to this cycle of, you know, the deer eating the grass, growing up, dying, feeding all of these other animals, and returning into the earth as the grass grows around it. So we want to thank you guys for joining us for this discovery. We hope to have more to share with you soon. My name is Christina Marisi. I'm the Environmental Education Planner. My teammate Trish Freese was on this excursion with me. Berlin Weens, our grounds facilities maintenance worker, is also part of our team. And we hope that you visit us soon, whether it's, you know, social media or stopping by the treehouse. Thank you all. We will share our discovery soon.